Hey everybody, today I'm announcing version 6.5. This is the next major update to the software. Usually I do minor revisions, so you'll see that if you go in the help menu, the major version numbers are here at the top, 6.5. Obviously the next major update would be 6.6, but the minor versions are here, the 6.51, 6.52, and so on. And so today's update is a major version upgrade in the middle of the fall season. So that's not usually something I do, but this update includes a lot of improvements to integrations with other companies, and those take a long time because it's something that where not only do I have to kind of wait on them for information, but then I've got to put it in and then got to both sides test it, and there's been a lot of integration work with this upgrade, so it's taken a lot longer than normal. And since we're in the middle of the fall season, that's also caused delays because whenever I get an update done, I'm super careful to go through and test it like crazy to make sure it's all perfect. I definitely don't want this upgrade to go out in the middle of the fall season and cause issues. So, but this upgrade's got a lot of improvements to efficiency on how the software handles certain things in the timing screen. So I'm hoping that maybe some of you that were using older computers or computers with not much RAM or many cores will find this upgrade is even better at preventing lags and different problems when you're timing big races, or if you're timing races and pushing results up to arrow while also pushing different things, or maybe live export files and different things. So but let's dive into what's new in this upgrade. I guess I'll start with first what I mentioned a second ago, which is there are some people that are using computers that maybe really shouldn't be used as your primary timing computer. If it's only got like 2 gigs of RAM or something, or 4 gigs of RAM, um, or if it's only like a dual core processor. And so, when I ask people like, well, how much RAM does it have, or how many cores does it have? I know that's not an easy question to answer for a lot of people. And so, what I've done is I've made it to where when you first open the software, it will tell you. Now, it only does this the very first time you open it. And because I don't want to just continuously bother you with that, but the very first time you run this upgrade, if your primary timing computer, or really any computer you're running the software on, if it doesn't have at least 16 gigs of RAM and at least 4 cores, then the software will display a prompt saying, hey, this computer is fine to run the software, but it may not be best to use as your primary timing laptop. So I've got older laptops that I use for like Results Kiosk or Quick Results TV or some other things that's perfectly fine to use it for those. But as your primary timing computer, you might see lags if because the software is doing a lot of things in the background to make sure everything's trying to run smooth and efficient. And so if your computer doesn't have at least 16 gigs of RAM and quad core, then it may not be best to use. And so that display will come up when you first open the software. But also, if you're just curious how much it has, even if you don't see that display, well, at the very top of the screen here, I've got the number of cores and the RAM installed at the top of the settings screen. So that should be an easy way to find that information. So probably the most important upgrade with this, well, of course, depending on your frame of reference, right? Some people will find other things I mentioned later way more important. But one of the big enhancements with this upgrade is the MileSplit and Athletic.net integration. So first, we'll start off with, let's actually start off with Erase Some Timing Tomorrow. So here in Arkansas, we use MileSplit. So let me pull that up. So if I go to download, now I may not have logged into MileSplit with this computer. Let's see. Okay, good. I have. So this is actually my Head Timers account. If we go down to the meet that we're timing tomorrow, which is in Mountain Home, it is a Bomber Invitational. And so when you go to download your entries, you have to go to Meet Manager and go to Entries, and then click on Download to CSV. This will download all entries, all schools, all events. And so now with this upgrade, you can go to Create Race, From File, MileSplit Entries, and you find your downloads, your file you just downloaded, and it'll pre-format all the fields for you. And so in this case, typically what I do is I'll click on first name, then last name, then team, or team ID, whichever, and then event. And then here I can sort of ascending or descending, it doesn't matter. And so this will sort everything in the way that I want bibs to be printed off. And so if I go ahead and click on import, then it's going to go through each of the events and go ahead and create the events and associate the athletes with them. So here, I'm going to do all these events here. Okay, so we got 8 total events. I'm going to start off with, let me see what bib number I have, 9. So my next bib number here is 919. And it's going to continue to ask if I want to use those bib numbers. I'm going to hit yes. Okay, so that is all that is needed now to create the events from MileSplit. Now, if you know how it is, you pull the file in, all of a sudden the coach emails you later saying, "Hey, I missed this or that or whatever." We can, in fact, let's just delete a few people here. This is the 6A boys 5K. You can also import MileSplit and then go to your downloads. So, if you find out later some more kids were added, then you can just do the import screen here. That was a boys 5K. And if I hit OK, and it's going to ask which number do you start off with, which of course should pick up where the last number here left off. I can hit OK and it pulls them in. So, anyways, that's a much more efficient way to do the importing of files. Now, the more exciting things come in a little bit here with MileSplit, but I want to show you that also with athletic.net. Now, I don't have one of those files readily available, but with athletic.net, it's the same thing. So if I go from file, athletic.net, download the CSV delimited file option, and it'll pull in the same way. Okay, so now that we have some events that are on MileSplit or athletic.net, one thing that's really nice is there is a live integration now where it'll send results out live to their site. Now that is using the app, both websites, athletic.net and MileSplit. You will download a file that from their website. So let's go to external accounts. If you're using athletic.net, you'll follow these instructions. So they did a good job of creating a step-by-step guide on how to set up the live results on their system. So you can read through that. And then on MileSplit, you will do these steps here, which is um, we have to go to each race. Now, if this race came from an EVT file, if you were to go to create race from file EVT, if it's a high-tech file, it'll automatically add the race number, round number, section number, which for cross country, my understanding is section and round is always going to be 1. So the software actually defaults to that because you're not using my software for track and field events like the 400, the 200, and so on. You're using it for cross country or road races typically, and so it'll default the round number and section number to 1, but you have to manually type in the race number. And the reason why is because for those that are not using the live integration, I don't want the software wasting time sending out these LIF files or the active live files. It doesn't need to waste that processing time. And so you can manually type in the race number, and that will trigger that the software needs to create the live files while you're timing the event. So I'll show you that in a second. But here is the instructions for the MileSplit Live. It looks like maybe a lot of steps, but a lot of them are like, just select the meet and, run this application and whatever. So it's pretty easy. But let's go ahead and run through the process. So here, if we click on this link, it's going to take us to their kind of step-by-step guide. Really, all you got to do is download the executable, which I've already got downloaded, so I'm not going to do it again. And once you download that executable, you just run it. Now, let's go ahead and do step number 1 of this, which is we have to go in and give each race a race number. So let's start with the, I guess the boys here. So 1A, 3A boys. And again, this doesn't really matter except for, it doesn't matter the number anyways, but they all need to be unique. So I'm going to give that 1. And let's go ahead and do 1A, 3A girls. And it looks like that's junior girls, but doesn't matter. I'm going to go do 2. And then 1A, 3A girls. And I got to do this will be 3. And then let's do junior boys. This will be 4. I probably would have done junior girls, junior boys, then just simply 1A, 3A senior girls and the senior boys, and then going up from there, just to keep them in order that I think the race is going to run, but it doesn't really matter again on what numbers are assigned. So I've got all the 1As done. Let's do the 4A, 6A junior girls. So I believe we're at number 5. And then 4A junior boys, let's do 6. And then let's do senior girls, which is 7. And finally 4A, 6A boys, which is 8. Scoring 8. Okay, and so once we click on now, one thing I forgot to do, let's go back and make sure I've got a live export path set. So this is going to, okay, so I've got this live results backup folder, and this is where your tag reads are going to be, but this is also where the LIF file is going to reside. And so let's go ahead and close that. Well, you know what, actually, let's leave it open and see if we can watch in real time as it's feeding the data out there. So I'll drop this over here, make it kind of small. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a test. Um, Let me open up one of the races and drag this over to where you can see. Go to time race, and when I pull all the races in, you'll see that it should have created the event file for us. And I'm going to not going to send the SMS results right now. Now, actually, so it hasn't created yet because one thing I have to do is, now this will be remembered, so you only have to check this once. I'm going to tell it to create the LIF results files. And so when I do that, it does create the folder, creates the event. This is the .evt file, the same thing that comes from Hightech if you created it there. So let's open it with Notepad so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so here's that event. Now, this will put your company name in as results created by. I saw that in some other file many years ago that someone sent me, and so I don't know if this is supposed to be the timing system provider or if this can be your company name. I went ahead and defaulted to where if you put your company name in here, that's what it'll show. Now, hopefully that's not going to be a problem. I have not seen any issues so far, but anyways, the rest of it is a standard EVT file setup, which has got the race number section, all the different things, and then the time that it's scheduled to start or the time it did start. So there's one race, here's another race, and so on. So it's kind of your event and your roster. So if we go now, let's start the mile split software. So let's actually open up another window. I think that's in my downloads. Oh, actually, you know what? When you run the application, it puts a shortcut on your desktop. So let's run that one. So you'll log in, and then you'll select the meet. See, Mountain Home. Here you're going to pick finish links/CSV. And then the final thing you're going to do is hit browse and select your LIF folder. So that's going to be under live results backup and then LIF results. Okay. And once you've done that, you can do start publishing. And let's go ahead and open up that event. So let's go. So you'll see the live results button here. And they have a way on their website where you can create the QR code. That I really like how they've done that. Just it's a quick and easy. In fact, it's probably even in their app. Yeah, print QR code, and it will pull up this. And if you hit print, it's got just their logo and the QR code, so you can print and post that around. But the results will be posted here, so we'll check that in a second. So really, once you get this application running, you just minimize it, and then you can time your race like normal without even thinking about that program. And so let's go here, and let's start. And so here we go, 1A3A boys, and you see that file was just created over here on the right. If we adjust the time, okay, so got the reader connected. Let's go ahead and scan some tags, and here they go. And we should see, as those are going up now, our mile split thing, if we watched it, let's go back to logs. It should be sending that data up now. I don't know if it shows top or bottom, but anyways, this doesn't matter. What matters is what's going up on their website. So you see here these events, it shows they've started. If I click on the 1A, 3A boys, there they are. So it's pretty instant. Let's go ahead and put a time in manually. Let's see how fast it goes. So that was, let's see, 1A, 3A boys, I think they're at the bottom. So let's do 967, 967. Quickly go to the website. Oh, there it goes. before I can even pull it up almost. So as you see, it's pretty quick and pretty instant. So really, really nice integration here. And again, the athletic.net works very similar. Unfortunately, again, here in Arkansas, we don't use athletic.net, but they've always been really great to work with. So I know that the main developer there that's been working with me on it has tested it and he feels like it's ready to go. So, um, but that is one of the biggest improvements to this update. Another improvement with the software is the system time change warning that would appear while you're timing the race up here, which is a very important message. If your system time changes by a lot, it can change the results of your race because it'll automatically, because the way the software works is it's simply continuously showing you the difference between now, which is always going forward, and the date timestamp of when the race started. So, for example, if we go down here, then if we go date timestamp, this is the date timestamp of when the race started. And so this clock you see here is simply the difference between this and your Windows time, which is always moving forward. But the problem is, what if your Windows time changes? Well, then it changes this time the same way as if you were to come over here and, let's say, bump this up by an hour and hit save. Well, now that's off. And so um, the uh, the issue is, let's go pretend like some people's computers only change by a fraction of a second. Maybe they've got some kind of sync process going on. Let's see if I can change it and kind of force that message up here. Let's do change time zone. So if I go to Eastern time and hit OK, then now that changed by an hour. So if we go to our timing screen, you'll see this message pop up. Hey, your system time has changed. And so that's very important if it happens, to a large degree during a race. But I did make it to where this upgrade only pops this up if it's been more than 2 seconds that the Windows time changed. So that's a nice improvement for those maybe who are getting that message frequently. Another small improvement to this upgrade is you can now specify the number of digits to display when if you want to show milliseconds and how many milliseconds you want to show. So it's a small change with this upgrade. Another improvement is I've had a couple people ask for the software to remember your setting when you go to action keys and your finish links feed. And so whatever you pick here, the software will now remember that. Another improvement is when you're pulling races from Run Signup. My account's linked to a whole bunch of different um, user accounts and different things, and so I actually see a large list of races. In fact, it takes a while to pull up. Now, there is a setting, I believe, in the settings screen where you can tell it, hey, limit it to the most recent month or two or whatever. So I could definitely make this more efficient. But the thing is, in the past, I would have maybe 4 events on the exact same day that simply had an event name on Run Signup simply called 10K. Now, maybe they had, and I may be getting my words backwards, maybe the event name is the full name you see here, and maybe they have a race that's simply 10K, 5K, and so on. But the problem is the software was only pulling just the short name or just the race name. And so I've made it now to where you're going to see the event name and the race name out next to it. So this will be a little bit bigger. Maybe I should by default make this screen a little bit bigger here, but this will give you a little more clarity on exactly which event you're pulling in. Another improvement is I've added a dedicated Xterra results file export. So I timed the Xterra Branson Mountain Man Triathlon this past weekend. And so now this is a computer I only have the finishing times in. So I've got another one that's got all the splits. But here, if you go to Race Day Tools, File Export, you'll see a new option called Xterra results file. We sent that file to Xterra and they said, wow, these are beautifully formatted and they really liked it. So I know this format has already been approved and works good. Another improvement is me and Race Roster have done quite a bit of work with this upgrade to just to test every feature out and improve it if we can. They've also announced a new partner program where you can earn some revenue on races you push through the platform. And so I believe to sign up for that, you go to Race Roster and then click here to create a Race Roster account. I believe you can sign in with your account if you've already got one, and that will kind of link you up with my partner account, and that way we both benefit. It doesn't cost you anything. It just kind of lets them know, yes, this is an AG user, and they provide a little incentive for me to keep the integration tight, and so it actually benefits you to benefit me because the more that revenue starts to flow in through a certain platform, of course, then of course I'm not going to let that platform struggle in any way. I'm going to make sure that it gets more attention than maybe other platforms where either less people are using it or there's no There's no benefit to me to, I mean, obviously, like, there is benefit to keep it going, but is there a benefit to really dive deep and to make sure that it's as best as it can be? And so that benefits me, it benefits you, and they've made it also to where this partner program doesn't require like a certain number of transactions. I believe you can, if you just have one race that you do a year, well, then you can have a little revenue sharing on it. Well, that is the biggest highlights in version 6.5. Now, obviously, there are many small improvements, a lot of cosmetic things, or just small, as I was using the program, little quality of life improvements that I've added in that are not included in this video, and probably not even included in the announcement on the users group page. And so, but I hope everyone enjoys 6.5. We've used it every race over the past month and a half or so. As I add new features in, of course, we use it at that next weekend's race. I want to make sure I use features before I push them out to the public. But if there are any problems at all that you discover, you guys, obviously maybe using the program a different way or doing different types of events. But if you do discover any problems at all, let me know right away. One thing you can do is go to the settings screen and there's a view error log. If you click on this will show any error that happened in the background or anything. And this also pulls up a file that you can email to me. And so this is something good to check out. While you're timing a race, I suppress all error messages, but I still write them out to the file. And that way you can let me know if something's not working very smooth on the timing screen, for example, you might want to check this file out and see, okay, was there something that kept hitting in the background that was causing an issue? And so that error log file is very useful. This tells me the line number that the error occurred on and tells me what function it happened in, all the things that I would need to know to fix it. And so that is something good to know. Uh, Also do appreciate when people post kind of the positive reviews and let me know, like, hey, I did this and this worked great or whatever else. It's always good to read that. So I definitely appreciate those posts on the forum or text or calls or whatever else or emails. Well, I hope everyone has a successful fall timing season and you enjoy using version 6.5.